A budget forecast will be tinkered with today before the federal government hands down their mid-year budget review. Economists say the strong Australian dollar will take its toll on the predicted 2013 return to surplus as it hits government revenues. Return to surplus. Is that a pie in the sky or what? Well, Finance Minister Penny Wong says the government's determined to bring the budget back to surplus on time, claiming the outlook will reflect the strong economy. At the moment, one Australian dollar is buying 100.01 US cents. And while the US may be struggling, a strong Aussie dollar could be cause of celebration here at home. And financial expert Wilson Luna has some advice, and we'll speak to him right now. Good morning.
Good morning, mate. Thanks for having us on the show.
No worries. Wilson, so just on this, is Australia's dollar strong only against the American dollar or other currencies as well?
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's interestingly enough, because a lot of the GFCs affected so many countries across the world, and most economies are a lot closer tied to the States. We're really strong. Look, I just came back from Europe only last month, and I've got to tell you, it's quite impressive when you can walk in there and everything seems really cheap as compared to 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, right. Pretty much generally all the major continents are a lot cheaper now.
It's interesting, isn't it? Most Asian economies use the American dollar in trade. Why is that in the first place?
Look, I suppose it's just a benchmark more than anything else, and it's sort of been an custom because they are the major superpower at the moment. Whether they remain that down the track will be a different question, but slowly there will be a little shift in that over time, and I think that's going to start shifting over time if America doesn't sort of come back to its original strong form.
Okay, so the Australian dollar is performing strongly against many of the world's currencies as well as the US currency. But having said that, one of the reasons why our economy is so strong is because of the mining sector.
Correct.
And there's no doubt about that. Anyone will tell you that without the mining sector, maybe we would be struggling somewhat.
Yeah.
So what happens now with the Australian dollar so high as far as our exports, i.e. the mining, will be bringing in less dollars?
Yeah, look, when we talk about mining assets, one of the great things about it is that it's kind of inflexible, or as we like to call it in economics terms, we like to say, it's got a fairly light slope in terms of demand, although it does get affected by pricing to somewhat because resources are a finite resource. It actually plays the other way, so it is still able to withhold a fair bit of demand in terms of the dollar going against it.
Yeah. But
yeah, still, obviously it affects it adversely, but not as much as what you would affect, let's say, a normal exporter of goods.
Okay, fair enough. Now, I was in China on a business holiday trip, and we were staying on mainland China. The Australian dollar, whilst we were there, slipped from 85 cents to 65 cents, and unbeknownst to me that the hotel chain in China worked in American dollars, so you can imagine what the hotel bill would have been. But on the other side of the coin, there's great savings, of course, online, which that's got to affect the retail sector here, doesn't it?
Look, absolutely. That's one of the downturns of it. In terms of the upside for consumers is, okay, look, you can get online, and whilst traditionally you used to pay a lot more because you'd have to pay once you went to the checkout or the cart, you'd end up paying in American dollars. Now it's actually more beneficial, and it was already cheap enough as it was, so this will indirectly, I call it, it will flatten out the world somewhat, and to Australian retailers, it depends how they sell it. See, if they sell overseas products, which most of them do, like, your Harvey Normans, etc., they will sell, TVs, etc., so they will end up being cheaper. But people that compete directly because they manufacture the products here, they'll be in a bit of a strain. Yeah.
I've got to say, in Australia, over the last few years, our retail sector has been struggling. I don't know if you realise that, and that's a fact. That's why you've got sales all the time. You can go into the big Harvey Norman stores these days and you can haggle with them. Like we used to haggle in the markets in Fiji and other markets around the world. You can actually haggle, and you end up saving thousands of dollars just by haggling. Whoever thought that would happen?
Yeah, look, absolutely, and it's that same phenomenon, the whole one about the world's flattening out, and they're having to realise that people can buy these goods online now, and online doesn't necessarily mean online Australia, it means online the world. So either they sort of get with the game and they begin to negotiate heavily, or else I suppose they're going to start losing market share, and that's probably part of the reason for the change.
You've got to be careful with postage and shipping, of course.
Yes, That's a huge one. Yeah. I love it. But funnily enough, people, and I know myself, I've been guilty of this a lot of times. I buy a very small item, and then I think, okay, well, that seems like nothing. And then suddenly you put the shipping cost of $14 or something, small item, you go, hang on, that suddenly became more expensive than what it should have.
Yeah, that's right. Now, one final question. As far as the Australian dollar is concerned, you get the feeling that America's economy will improve. They're about to inject $600 billion into that economy. That's no small amount, is it? $600 billion. You would say that might, even in the short term, turn their economy around to the point where their dollar will be worth more. Is it worth Australians going out there saying, well, let's invest in some American dollars right now while we're on parity with them?
That's the billion-dollar question. And the truth of it is that there seems to be no light at the end of the tunnel at the moment. Like, if we were talked to from today, are they putting $600 million to stimulate it or to tap holes?
Or to save it.
Or to save it. And that's why I think, no, I would definitely hold fort, make the most of it in terms of the other areas we talked about today. But, yeah, really watch it with that, because it could also go the other way around as well. And there might be a chance of double dip, etc.
Good to talk to you. Thanks, Wilson.
Yeah, cheers, Bye. Bye.
Listen, that's Wilson Luna. He's a financial expert. So, while some finance people are saying, yeah, buy the American dollars and sit on them for a while, he's saying, fraught with danger. There was a time when Australia's dollar was well in advance of the American dollar in the 70s. I remember being in America, and I think it was about 88 cents we got for the Australian dollar. 88 cents US we got for the Australian dollar at that time. And in Mexico, we were millionaires. 25 after 7.